In this presentation, we will be discussing the issues surrounding Confederate displays. CHR 305, Group 3, Laura Bennett, Megan Funderburk, Morgan McCarver, and Kimberly Taylor.
The history behind our topic was that the Confederate States were formed in 1861. These were made of 11 southern states. These states had seceded from the Union. The goal for these states were to protect slavery, make state rights, and also protect political liberty. The Confederate monuments were put up after the Reconstruction period to preserve the history of the Confederates.
Legal issues involved with Confederate monuments today. Several states have recently erected laws to protect Confederate monuments. Specifically in Anderson, South Carolina, the monuments are protected by the Heritage Act, which was passed in 2000. It states that no historical monument can be altered or moved without a 2/3 vote in both chambers of the General Assembly.
The monument in Anderson took 16 years to build, and it was erected after the Reconstruction period. A quote on the monument is, "All lost but by the graves where martyred heroes rest. He wins the most who honor saves. Success is not the test. The world shall yet decide in truth's clear far-off light that the soldiers who wore the gray and died with Lee were right."
Key issues surrounding this topic. Hate groups such as the KKK use the Confederate flag and monuments as symbols to represent themselves. Groups argue that these monuments should not be removed because they preserve history.
Cultural dynamics involved with Confederate monuments. It is important to remember cultural dynamics and differences when discussing this issue.
The first argument is to let the Confederate monuments remain where they are. The history of these monuments and memorials is what should stand out, not the hate and inequality represented before and after the Civil War.
Remove Confederate monuments. The main argument is that we don't need to glorify monuments for the purpose of remembering our history when we can learn the same things from textbooks.
The final argument is to relocate Confederate monuments. The monuments would be relocated to a more appropriate location, such as a museum or a garden. Those who wish to view these monuments may do so peacefully, but they won't be in public locations.
So for our group, we were very open to having the monuments relocated to less populated areas or having them relocated to museums.
The social influences are relative to each individual in the group. Each member has a different primary influence when it comes to the issue of the Confederate monuments. You can read each person's opinion at the bottom.
We all have a Christian worldview, but that did not make our reasoning all the same. Our theoretical approach to our decision-making was the same due to our collective worldview.
Group reasoning. Laura thinks that it would be best for these statues to be relocated to museums because of what they represent to so many people. To her, they represent the slavery that the Confederacy fought for. They have been the meeting place for white supremacy groups, the KKK, and the source of so much conflict, which leads her to believe they would be better placed in a museum. I personally think that the monuments are fine where they are, but I am very open-minded to them being relocated to appropriate locations such as a museum. This creates a way for those who seek to learn and view these monuments to be able to, and those who do not wish to view them will not be forced to see Confederate displays.
I think that the Confederate monuments, for example the one located in downtown Anderson, should be relocated to a designated area for Confederate memorabilia. I believe the Confederate monuments are a proclamation of state power and a break from the United States. Also, with the events happening around this issue today, I believe that they should be relocated for peace and safety.
Okay, so the reason that I believe this is because I think that if people are offended by things, then they should be taken down. But I also think that if it honors someone, then they should also be preserved at the same time. So, and finally, here's our sources from our research. We hope you've enjoyed our presentation.